increasingly the state governments are being moving into the kind of a bit closer into the childcare early years space because we kind of have to.
You mentioned moving sort of down or backwards into the early education area. And last year, you had the Royal Commission into Early Childhood Education and Care, chaired by Julia Gillard, very high-profile Royal Commissioner. That's a very interesting area, and I'll wearing my hat as a Comite's president. I'll say that we put in a submission as well, just a one-page submission to the Royal Commission, highlighting the importance of languages at an early age, given we know how well children, who are young children, absorb and learn languages, and the long-term benefits in terms of the well-being of the child in the short run, in terms of family interaction, but also intercultural competencies. And we were wondering, we were recommending that languages be a core part of the education system from this time. And I was very pleased to see that the Royal Commission devoted a page to this and endorsed it.
That's right. And you're right. You raised really good points. And it was great that Comite's saw fit to put a submission into the Royal Commission, into Julia Gillard's Royal Commission, around languages. And you are also, of course, 100% correct that the benefit to young people, or whether it's preschool or age or primary school or high school age, around studying a language and seeing broader benefit to the rest of their learning is very well established now. And I've had the good fortune as Minister to visit a couple of our bilingual schools. One is Plympton International College and one is Highgate Primary. They are bilingual, and it's interesting to see the kind of broader academic data, whether it's NAPLAN tests or whatever it might be, but those students who are in the bilingual streams, of course, they perform well in language-based subjects, but they also, generally speaking, perform better in other subjects as well. So there's real benefit in having that embedded in the early years. And just yesterday, I announced the first 4 subjects South Australia will introduce as part of the new Australian curriculum, which is version 9 of the Australian curriculum, which is rolled out and covers reception or foundation or another state's prep, the first year of school, all the way through to year 10 before students in their different states or territories start their leaving certificate. And of course, for us, it's Cites, the South Australian Certificate of Education. And the 4 that we are starting with next year are English, maths, languages and arts. So they're the 4 that we've chosen for a deliberate reason. So I'm sure you and your listeners will be pleased to know that we've prioritised languages, and in no small part for the reason that you just pointed out to around the benefit beyond being able to be potentially bilingual and learn another language and another culture, but also what we now see as the broader benefit to other parts of your learning by being able to learn another language, which is great. So, and I think it's all part too of a well-rounded kind of education, whether you're getting it in the public system, the Catholic system, or the independent system. Having access to obviously the fundamental literacy and numeracy stuff, and that's why we're kicking things off with English and maths, but also the opportunity to study a language and having arts as well. I think we are sort of showing where we want our focus to be by starting with those 4 subjects, and it's important to give students those opportunities. But languages is certainly front and centre in that.
Very, very good news. I hadn't picked up on the Australian curriculum update. And interesting. So my background, academic and research background, is in innovation and commercialisation, and so I see the importance clearly of technology-based subjects. But there are strong complementarities with understanding communication, interaction with other human beings, and that's what comes with language and cultural competency. So we're very pleased with that. So we're looking forward to seeing how it's rolled out. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, yes. One other point I should make, which is a point that was made to me yesterday by Martin Westwell, who's the Chief Executive of the Education Department. We were talking about the new curriculum and having languages, and about the standardised tests that students in South Australia and around Australia undertake. And people will be familiar with NAPLAN, which is in years 3, 5, 7 and 9. But there was also a test called PISA, which I think is the Program for International Student Assessment. You're familiar with it. It's OECD nations.
Yep.
It's done once every 3 years, I think, and it's 15-year-olds. A sort of selection of 15-year-olds study that test, and it covers a number of things, including English and maths from memory. But Martin was saying that the ability for year 8 boys to be able to see different perspectives or another person's perspective, that there is a direct correlation between their ability to do that and the scores they tend to achieve in their PISA test the year after in year 9, which is really interesting and surprised me, I must say. But language is an important part of that, of course, because not only are you learning the, I guess, kind of, particular skills around how to speak another language, but you are investigating a culture at the same time, and often the history of it, and learning another culture perspective, which helps broaden that. And obviously now we're seeing with the data we collect that has a benefit beyond just being a worldly person or being able to speak another language, but it has flow-on effects into other part of your learning as well.
Yes, and business prospects too for the States, very important. Now, you mentioned a few schools.
Very true.
We Competence recently organised an event on the 25th of April, and we had some students from a school that you've also visited, Valleyview Secondary School. You've seen some girls from, and we had 2 girls from Indian extraction read some material in Italian, and it's outstanding what they're doing in that school. So, okay, we have an interest in Italian, but that's kind of a second order issue. The languages are, and the brain expansion that happens with this this study is very important. It's good.
Yes, and Valleyview School I know well, and just outside the seat or the area that I represent in State Parliament. So some very good things are happening at that school.
Well, just one more question about the Royal Commission. I know you'd appointed an executive director or some title like that for early childhood.
Yes.
A lady that's come from Victoria, which is at the forefront. Is very strong in education, and I understand she had been doing already very good things over there. At what stage are we with implementing the outcome of the Royal Commission? Yeah,
so the person that you referred to there, her name is Kim Little, and she has moved, as you said, from Victoria, from Melbourne, to come and be the inaugural Chief Executive of the Office for Early Childhood Development, which is the office tasked with rolling out 3-year-old preschool. And it is a big coup for our state. Kim was the Deputy Secretary of the Department for Education in Victoria, and primarily tasked with the role of rolling out, or the job of rolling out their 3-year-old preschool. So she comes with an incredible level of understanding and knowledge about the area, but also, some good insights into the things that have worked and potentially haven't worked in terms of Victoria's rollout, which is great for us. She is, I would say, just about the best mind on these things in Australia. So we feel very lucky that we're able to have her. I came from a meeting with Kim and a number of key stakeholders from across the sort of broader education area today, including the Catholic and independent schooling sectors, early childhood representatives, where we spoke about the task in front of us, where we're at in that delivery. And broadly speaking, we start the rollout of 3-year-old preschool from 2026, achieving full rollout by 2032. That is the fastest and most ambitious rollout that any jurisdiction has for the introduction of a second year of preschool. So it is, there's no doubt about it, it's a big task, and a lot of the challenges around delivering it will be in the workforce. So having the early childhood teachers and early childhood workers that are needed to fill those roles as we expand. But I guess the key to our ability to be able to deliver it in that time frame and make sure that we get as many 3-year-olds access to preschool as we possibly can was Julia Gillard's decision to recommend a mixed model, where some of it would be provided through long daycare providers, so most likely the private system or non-government system, and then some provided through existing and new government preschools as well, which was, I think it's fair to say, not a recommendation that people had foreseen, but the Royal Commissioner was very strong on it because she said that was the way to get to as many 3-year-olds as you could and make sure that we could actually achieve the workforce targets to deliver it, which of course is important. And we know if we only got, say, 85% of 3-year-olds, it's often those who might be in more disadvantaged circumstances who are the ones who miss out. So the first recommendation that Julia Gillard made, though, was around what she referred to as developmental vulnerability, and that we should introduce 3-year-old preschool because there are a whole heap of educational and development reasons to do that, but that we also should aim to put a number of other supports in there for the 3-year-olds who are in our services and their families, if they are in need of those, to get the level of developmental vulnerability of 5-year-olds in South Australia down from where it currently sits, which is 23.8, which is above the national average, down to 15 over the next 20 or so years. And that might be in areas like cognitive, physical, emotional, language, a whole range of things where kids might be behind. Of course, we know that if they are at that age and at 5 years old, I think about 90% of your brain development is done. It gets very hard to fix those things later. It gets harder and harder, and it also gets more and more expensive. So this is a good place for us to invest taxpayers' dollars to get a good return and to improve those life trajectories of young people.
Yeah, and it also long-term helps with gender equity issues and Indigenous disadvantage issues. Now,
Very good point.